Would you let go of my jugular, please? Hugo had just found Kimzo lurking about after his appointed task was complete. He wasn't supposed to stick around. He was supposed to report to the shredded leader immediately afterwards.
Why should I? You could have compromised the mission.
Reggie had finally caught up to Hugo just as he started to violently throttle Kimzo. Reggie stuck a hand out and his sword flew from its spawn point into Reggie's hand, but missed. Reggie hadn't gotten used to the new power of telekinesis that came along with having the spawn sword. He would have run with it, but it was dangerously heavy. The sword brushed the tips of Reggie's fingertips, sending it into a forward spiral that clocked Hugo right on the back of his skull. Hugo toppled forward with the force of the blow, coming nearly lips to lips with Kimzo. Hugo, please, hear me out! Hugo headbutted Kimzo right in the face and turned to see Reggie.
Urgh. Reggie, what the fuck? You can't control your own weapon?
Reggie held up his hands in an I didn't do it fashion.
It's not my fault, I'm still getting used to the new power.
He held a hand out again and beckoned for his sword. Hugo could see that Reggie was actually focusing for it this time. Hugo turned around and watched the sword slowly rise into the air, wobbling ever so slightly. It floated closer and closer until it reached Kimzo and then stopped. A few seconds of silence passed until Kimzo broke the quiet ambience. Why is it just floating there? Can't you just walk over and... Reggie flung his hand behind him and the sword clocked Kimzo on the forehead with its hilt, knocking him out.
That's right! You mess with the Anthraxian bull, you get the Anthraxian horns! Hoosha!
Kaitlyn came running up behind Reggie, dodging the sword as it missed his grasp again.
Damn, Reggie! You really need to learn to control that thing.
Yes, I am aware, Kaitlyn. Thank you.
Kaitlyn came to a stop right in front of Hugo, scanning him down and then up until she reached his neck. She noticed a trickle of blood running from the back of his head. She quickly spun him around with her lightning speed and examined the gash. Hugo always hated when she used her speed like that. It gave him the biggest headache. Kaitlyn was a partial elemental. He had no idea where she contracted a lightning elemental's powers, a set of powers that were extremely rare, but she did, though she didn't get the teleporting and light conjuring abilities that came along with it. She just got its speed. That, or she chose not to use the first two.
What the hell? You gashed the back of Hugo's head open. Again.
Reggie stomped over to look at Hugo's wound. He got real close and examined the bleeding hole.
I've already said this once, I'm still getting used to the new power. I guess I just didn't slow it down like I thought.
Kaitlyn put her hands on her hips and assumed what Reggie called her sassy stance. She'd stick out her right hip and cock her head in the same direction. Sometimes she'd cross her arms, other times she'd put her hands on her hips. This time, it was her hips.
Didn't slow down like you thought. Of course it didn't slow down, Mr. Hoosha.
She looked down and saw Kimzo, face down in the sand. Excited, she quickly straddled him and put his unconscious hands behind his back.
Hugo, why didn't you tell me you caught an intruder? And by the way, good job on knocking him out, Reggie.
Hugo was very confused. He hadn't told Reggie about the plan with Kimzo yet, but he did tell Kaitlyn.
Kaitlyn, what are you doing?
Kaitlyn heard the annoyance in Hugo's voice and got confused as well.
What do you mean? You were attacking this guy, so obviously he's an enemy, right?
Hugo stared Kaitlyn in the eye. He loved her to death. She was practically family, but her short-term memory was the most annoying aspect of her. Reggie piped in.
Hugo, is there something we don't know?
Yeah. Did you skip out on some of the mission details?
Hugo's face went from annoyed to frantic as he rushed to put a hand over Kaitlyn's mouth and shushed her.
Kaitlyn, would you shut up? There are people helping us with the assassination. You seriously need to get a hold on your memory.
Sorry, get a hold of what?
Hugo held back his urge to yell as he spoke.
Kaitlyn, I swear, if you don't shut up and listen to me, I can't be held responsible for what I do next.
Bite me, Huey. I was only joking with you. I remember when you told me perfectly fine. I just didn't remember it happened until you reminded me.
Hugo took a step backward and rubbed his temples. Her part lightning elemental powers meant that she could control electric traffic throughout her body, therefore making her faster. The only taxing part of that ability was that it affected her short-term memory. Hugo could manage it, Hugo could work with it, but there'd always be a point where he just wanted to give up and walk away. It was a good thing Reggie and Kaitlyn were his friends, otherwise he would have walked out long ago.
Okay, then let me explain this again. Kaitlyn, I know this took a lot of convincing for you, and I know you'll be extremely opposed to this. But this mission is actually an assassination mission, to kill the founder of Anthraxians, the founder of our race, Cal.
Hugo braced himself for a storm of disagreement and slander, but got quite the opposite. In fact, Hugo was so